ladies are back on top. World champions for the 27th time. The Lakers repeat back-to-back titles. The LA Lakers. Back to throw Montana. Step left throws. This fight is over. Floyd Mayweather has a knockout victory over Ricky Hatton. Smiling. Oh! He slapped him! Conor McGregor is the new UFC featherweight champion of the world! Oh! Unbelievable!
Put the countdown mark off. Hell no.
Welcome back to Championship Rounds. This will be my 8th installment, and I just wanted to welcome everybody back. Please like, comment, subscribe, what have you, whatever you feel called or inclined to do just that. Got a few things I want to touch on today that deal with MMA, boxing, the works. Okay, so I just thought I'd come back because there's a lot of things moving around right now. As usual, things are moving about. Things that I didn't think were going to happen are happening. Give me 1 second. Take this shot of Buffalo Trace. Get my mind right. 1 second. That is rough. Very rough. Okay. Now, wanted to get into this because I wasn't able to react to UFC 256 yet. Again, work 10-hour days. I try to squeeze these in as much as I can, but time only permits so much. So, I do have a few days off coming up. I'm going to try to record every single one of those days. Be on the lookout for Johnny Funny as Fuck. Gonna have him on. Can't wait. The man is hilarious. But again, Championship Rounds. Back here with your boy Marcel Pierre. And I want to just go ahead and break into UFC 256 post-mortem. Alright? First thing I want to talk about is I made my picks now. I went 4-5-1. That's 4 wins, 5 defeats, and 1 draw. Okay, I'm going to get into that. But the first fight I want to touch on is Mackenzie Dern. Alright, when I was making my picks, I made a bold suggestion that, hey, if you're betting on MMA, combat sports, to bet on the women's fights. And although I was incorrect, because Mackenzie Dern did pick up the decision win, rather, the fight definitely played out exactly how I thought it was going to play out, just with a different victor. And if you watch that fight, obviously no one got submitted. It went to decision, and Dern got the nod. But Jandiroba, is that what it is? Or is it Verna? Let's just say Verna. Verna definitely showed that she was in that fight and definitely could have taken at least 2 judges' scorecards. It didn't go that way, but it could have. And again, just to reinforce what I said, women's fighters, they're not that far apart. Like the ones that are far apart, Valentina Shevchenko, Chris Cyborg, Amanda Nunes, they're far apart. Very far. But the lion's share of these competitors are right there with each other. They got holes in their game. They're either a great wrestler, Sarah McMahon. They're either a great jiu-jitsu player, Mackenzie Dern. They're a great boxer, Holly Holm. But they're not as well-rounded as one would want them to be. They're coaches. They're fans. And when they get in there with somebody that is more seasoned in a field, they make them look pedestrian. Ronda Rousey, She knocked out, who she knocked out? She knocked out Betch Kohea, her coach Edmund Terverdian, going on record saying, hey, she knocks out guys in the training room, blah, blah, blah. They show a video of her hitting pads. Everybody's like, oh, her boxing is so legit. Look at her hitting those pads. She won what? The bronze in judo and in the Olympics. She's been arm barring everybody. That is her finishing move. I know this isn't professional wrestling, but that's her finishing move. Is the arm bar. Look how many people she finished with the arm bar. Then she gets this boxing coach, Edmund Tarverdian, who has her believing she's Layla Ali. You're not. You knocked out Betch Kohea. Is she a good boxer? Hell no. Not even in the UFC anymore. Neither here nor there, but let me not trail away from the point. The point is that these competitors have holes in their game. Gaping holes that the right competitor can and will expose. And that almost happened on Saturday with Mackenzie Dern because her boxing is amateur at best. She is world class on the ground. No disrespect to you, Mackenzie. You know, Joey Diaz had a funny thing he said about Mackenzie Dern, and it's back when she was missing weight a lot. He said that Mackenzie Dern woke up in the morning on weigh-in day, and she made one important decision, and she had two choices. Number one, the first choice was making weight. The second choice, and this is Joey Diaz's words, was keeping that ass looking like a birthday cake, and she didn't make weight. All right. Moving on. So, Mackenzie Dern picks up the W. She wins. But if you put her in there, in my opinion, with somebody that is very, very seasoned in striking, it's going to be a long day for Mackenzie. The reason why I picked Verna in the fight, because Verna might not have all the medals on the world championships level as Mackenzie Dern, but she did have 13 submissions in mixed martial arts. So, I'm not just going to gloss over that as if it means nothing, even though I don't know the level of competition she faced before the UFC. The woman got in the UFC and submitted 2 girls off the bat. You know, so that's why I was high on her. And she might still come around and be something special in the future. Who knows? But, like I said, don't count on Mackenzie Dern being a world champion unless she does not have to go through somebody that is a brilliant striker with takedown defense. Okay? Don't count on it. Moving on again. Moving on. You know, burdened with blame, trapped in the past for too long. I'm moving on, like Rascal Flatts, to JDS. Now, I picked JDS. This was another one of my defeats. I picked JDS because he's a former world champion. The man has been in there with the who's who of the heavyweight division of mixed martial arts. Not to mention, he's won the lion's share of those fights. Yeah, the man was on a 3-fight losing streak, where he was finished 3 times in a row. Jairzinho Rozenstruik. Who else finished him? Curtis Razor Blades and Francis Ngannou. Getting beat by any of those guys is nothing to hang your head on. Maybe if you're JDS, because you're expecting a higher level of performance. But I didn't think he was going to go in there against a guy who was 6-0 and get finished. But now that he has, and he pretty much, look, I'm going to put it up on the screen right here. The guy was turning his head away. And then after he was finished, after the fight was called off, he was complaining about getting hit in the back of the head. Bro, you've been in the UFC for how long? You know they don't count strikes in the back of the head when the two guys are standing. That's a ground thing. Every head kick that connects flush with an opponent almost hits the back of the head. There's been several knockouts that way. Are they gonna jump in and say, whoa, your foot hit the back of the head. We're gonna wave this off. No contest. No, it's a head kick. You're standing. Protect yourself at all times. JDS, what were you thinking? Turning away. Of course you're going to get hit in the back of the head. Flush. And you're going down. Miss me with that. So, in my opinion, unless they put JDS in there with a tomato can next, which is highly unlikely because they're definitely going to use his name power to project the next guy. Unless he's put in there with a tomato can, the man is done, and he's going to be the next guy, the next big name cut from the sport's biggest promotion, the UFC. All right, moving down the list, we're going to go to a standout. A guy that I wasn't 100% sure would pull off the victory because he was fighting the guy that is the more credentialed guy, the biggest threat of his career. Guy was 41, and I mentioned that. And that guy is Ronaldo Jacare Souza. Okay. Kevin Holland went in there and put him away off his back. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. The fight that I saw that a guy got finished off his back, put away, like I'm not talking about submitted, put away, was, I think it was, and I'm going to try to find the video, but it was, I can't think of his name. Randy Brown was the victim. And, who is his opponent? I know his opponent recently fought Donald Cowboy Cerrone recently. But yeah, put the guy away. Nico Price, put him away off his back. The shit is rare. It does not happen. So for going back to my point, for Kevin Holland to pull that off when he's in there with the stiffest competition to date of his career is amazing. It's phenomenal. And I have nothing but high wishes and praise for this guy going forward. He called out Khamzat Chimaev, the guy that the UFC is trying to push big time. Make the fight, Dana. Make the fight. Who's real and who's pretending? They might be both real. Who's better? I want to know, and I'm sure there's tons of fans throughout sports that want to know too. These two are some of the biggest prospects coming right now. The guys are great. I did bet on Kevin to win. I said that it would probably be a finish, but you know what I mean? I said if it did go to the decision, then I know Kevin would be the busier fighter. He's got the youth, the cardio. So it is what it is. Kevin won the fight by decision or by finish. You know, it was a very great performance for him. And look for him to get, I don't know if he's going to get Khamzat, but look for him to get a huge fight for his next, opponent. He just took out Jacare Souza. That's not some easy thing to do. I mean, Jacare Souza was in there with Yoel Romero and didn't get finished. So all I'm saying is that Kevin Holland is real. He's the real deal. He's coming. He's coming up in the rankings. Okay, stop it. All right, he's real. I picked a guy named Billy Quarantello. Okay, I picked him because his name sounds like quarantine. I picked him because his strategy is, hey, I have a bigger gas tank than you. I'm going to put a pressure on you that you just can't, you will break. Kind of Justin Gaethje style without the leg kicks. You will break, and I'm still going to be here for the duration of the fight. Okay, well, that just didn't happen. He fought a guy that, took everything he threw and threw it back at him better. And, so I picked the guy, I lost the bet. Obviously, my parlay was busted up by Mackenzie Dern, by, the guy I'm talking about right now, by, all I'm saying is that these guys definitely showed me something. And I'm going to take that into consideration when they get another fight. But Quarantello, he was red hot, had a knockout finish in the fight before, doing his thing. He was making a name for himself. Okay, but this is MMA. That's what I'm saying. That's why I always bring that up. This isn't boxing where you've got guys out there scouting talent to see how good they are or aren't, and they're going to be smart with your career and put you in there with the right guys. No, that might happen, believe you me or believe it or not, when you get further up. But at this level, you're just fighting the guys that they put you in there with. Styles make fights. They're trying to have good fights. And it's your job to shine. It's your job to win. So I'm just going to end on this. Like, Billy might be, a rising star still, and he might reach heights in the future, but he just hit a roadblock here, and he's going to have to go back to the drawing board and figure out what went wrong in this fight, because he was pretty much outclassed by a guy who, and another reason why I picked Billy, because the guy was, and I'm not going to disrespect this guy. I think his name was Gavin. I don't want to disrespect this guy. So I'm going to go ahead and look up his name. And because the guy was pretty muscular. And I know that Gavin Tucker, and I had that in my head. I just didn't want to be wrong. Gavin's muscular. He's carrying around a muscle. And Billy's style is to out-cardio you. If a guy comes in cardio shape, and a guy comes in muscular, and this maybe a 5-round fight would be different. I don't know, but not from the looks of this fight. I'm just gonna put a bow on this. Like I'm saying, Gavin might have been carrying that muscle, but he carried the cardio too. When he struck, it was with more ferocity, with more impact than Billy's strikes. It was a bad fight for Billy, and Gavin improved to 13-1. We'll see who he fights next. He might have taken that buzz that Billy was riding in the fight too with, and he's going to carry that to his next fight. More power to you, Gavin. I said you were looking good. I didn't pick you. I picked Billy. You made me eat crow. More power to you again. All right, let me pull my notes back up here so we can go ahead and segue into the next part of UFC 256 that I wanted to get into, and that is the co-main event between Ferguson and Oliveira. Charles do Bronx Oliveira, who I said that I wasn't going to bet on this fight, and I didn't. I knew that this fight could have went either way. Tony could have showed up and looked like the Tony we're used to, the 12-fight win streak Tony, or he could have showed up and looked like the Justin Gaethje fight Tony. Charles Oliveira came in, 7-fight win streak, all finishes. He could have continued, and he did. And that's why I did not want to bet on this fight. I had so much respect for both of them, and I knew that either of them could win. So I'm not going to put my money on a fight that could go either way unless I'm betting on both of them, but I only do that on rare occasions where I have a couple parlays that contradict one another. So Oliveira in the first round, makes linguine out of Tony Ferguson's arm, but because Tony Ferguson is Tony Ferguson, there ain't no tapping. So Tony Ferguson is still tough. He's not going to sit there and he made a statement that he's not going to sit there and get finished on 2 consecutive fights in a row after going 12-0 in a run in the UFC's hardest division. So he might not have won the fight. He lost by unanimous decision. But what he did do was save some face, like, okay, this guy comes in red hot. He put me in a position that he's taken out 7 guys before me, and even more than that because Oliveira's got the most submission wins in UFC history. But he didn't finish me. I'm El Kukui Ferguson. I might not have won the fight, but damn it, I ain't gonna be taken out either. So yeah, he lost the fight. You know what I mean? I interested to know who they put him in there with next. But yeah, Oliveira picks it up. He's definitely either getting a title shot or a title eliminator fight in his next fight. Okay, because you just submitted Kevin Lee and then you took out Tony Ferguson. That's 8 fights in a row, and you just took out two big names, because I do think Kevin Lee's a big name too. So he's getting a big fight next. Who's it going to be? Let's see here. If it's a title eliminator fight, because obviously I think the winner of Poirier and Conor are either going to win the belt or fight for the belt next. So that leads me to say that Oliveira, if he fights again before the title fight happens, if they don't just outright turn the Poirier-McGregor fight into the title fight, he's going to fight somebody to fight the winner of that fight for the belt. That's my opinion. So who do you put him in there with? I don't know. Dan Hooker's coming off a loss. But all I'm saying is that division, Khabib or no Khabib, is still stacked to the brim. So expect fireworks coming from that fight. Like, props to Oliveira, props to Ferguson. Good fight. A bit one-sided, but good fight. And I'm going to go ahead and get into the main event, okay? Because I was big on levels. When I was talking about the fights in my last show. I said there's levels to this. Moreno has showed that when he's in those huge fights, he doesn't win. Moreno looked amazing. Made this one of the fights of the year. In my opinion, the fight of the year is still, young Jacek versus, oh my gosh, why can I remember people's names like when I'm sitting here talking about them? She's the world champion right now, and I hope she fights Rose Namajunas next. Well, yeah, it was young Jacek versus, wow, I can't believe I am an MMA junkie and I can't remember. But I'm going to pull it up right here. This is shame on me for this. Zhang Weili, or Weili Zhang. Sorry. How did I forget that? Neither here nor there. Hope she fights Rose Namajunas next. I got Rose. Anyways. So, that's the fight of the year still for me. Namajunas versus young Jacek. I know people like the Hooker Poirier fight. They like there's other fights that have been fireworks too, but those are the front runners. But again, great fight. Figueiredo, although I scored it for him, definitely lost a point on the scorecard. They took a point away from him. So the fight was a draw. So obviously if they didn't take the point, he would have won on the scorecards. So yeah, Figueiredo won the fight. He doesn't get the title defense per se because he didn't get the victory, but he still walked away from the fight with the belt, because you can't lose your belt because of disqualification or draw. And that, I think they took that from professional wrestling, but that's neither here nor there. So, I mean, the last time we had a draw in a world title fight was, I think, Tyron Woodley versus Wonderboy Thompson. Yeah, I think that was the last time. But again, very, very good fight. UFC has a wing of their Hall of Fame where they have a fight wing. Wouldn't be surprised if that fight one day finds its way in there. I mean, it was a world title fight and all. So, take that into consideration. I did. And if you watch the fight, I'm sure you're echoing the exact same sentiments your boy is. So, alright, that puts a bow on UFC 256. Definitely going to have some more UFC coverage coming, because there's definitely some more blockbuster marquee fights. One being January 23rd, Poirier versus McGregor. Definitely going to cover that one. But yeah, sticking on to MMA, I mentioned in my last show that there's been some cuts to the UFC and there's been a lack of interest for the fighters in question. One being Yoel Romero. Well, just came out, Yoel Romero signs with the Bellator MMA. Big pickup for Bellator. They just picked up Anthony Rumble Johnson. They picked up Ryan Bader. They picked up Gegard Mousasi. They picked up Rory McDonald. They picked up Ben Henderson. Do I need to go on? These are world championship level fighters. And Bellator's picking them up. So Bellator used to grab names like Hoist Gracie, elderly. Ken Shamrock, elderly. Kimbo Slice, big name. Post Prime. He wasn't as shredded as he was in the fights where he was in the street or the UFC. He was chiseled when he got to the UFC. Wasn't chiseled in Bellator, but still holds some records for, Bellator's most eyeballs and Elite XC. Like, I think that's still like either the top or the top, or at least top 3 of fights ever, the most watched fights on cable television in history. Network television, whatever. Look it up. Kimbo Slice. Anyways, Dada 5000. Not even in shape enough to make weight. He almost died. Okay. That's the type of people that Bellator was picking up. Okay. I respect the Chael Sonnen pickup, the Vanderlei Silva pickup, the Rampage Jackson pickup. But these guys were not prime. Lyoto Machida, they picked him up. He's closer to prime. I'm getting a call here. Hello? You caught me in the middle of my show. Hello? Alright. They didn't say a word. Alright, so again, Bellator picking up big names. A lot better names now. They're picking... Their 205 division is stacked now. I mean, they have all those names that I just named, and like not the ones that like Ben Henderson that aren't in the weight class, but Vadim Nemkov just finished Ryan Bader. He's the champ now. Ryan Bader's still heavyweight champion. He could go down. Corey Overtime Anderson just signed with them from the UFC. Top 5 in the UFC rankings. That's what I mean. These got Ryan Bader top fucking 3 in the UFC rankings. These guys can win fights, and they're highly ranked, and Bellator's picking them up. They got Phil Davis, one of my favorite fighters. They definitely, in my opinion right now, as far as name quality and skill quality for that matter, they got the best 205 pound division in the sport. I said it. Bellator's 205 division is better than the UFC's. In the UFC, the champion is Jan Blachowicz. I know who he is. I'm an MMA junkie. Do you? Do you know who Jan is? Polish Power? Do you know who he is? You probably maybe seen his last fight, but other than that, do you know who he is? Do you know who, Reyes is? Do you know who Anthony Smith is? Do you know who Glover Teixeira is? Do you? Okay, so you know these names like Lyoto Machida, Ryan Bader, Anthony Rumble Johnson. Like I'm not gonna sit here and catalog them, but you know those names, and they're not done. They still have skill. Okay, Ryan Bader comes over to the UFC. He's beating Jan Blachowicz. Surprise! I think so. He ain't even the 205-pound champion no more. Nemkov is. So again, Bellator, big ups to you. You're making great pickups here. I'm gonna be watching this for certain. All right. So again, Yoel Romero, he's coming in. I know everybody's like, well, Bellator, Yoel fights at 185 pounds. He's a middleweight. All right. Well, he's going to Bellator as a light heavyweight, and he's already said, you know what I mean, that he wanted to fight in the light heavyweight division in the UFC. But Yoel cuts a lot of weight. The man cuts a lot of weight. And he's not a spring chicken. So it's definitely good for his career. Demetrius Johnson, Mighty Mouse Johnson, came out recently, and I know he fights in one now. He came out recently. He's the greatest 125-pounder of all time. He said he'll never go back to that division. Even though he fights at the flyweight division in one, it's 135 and 1. Not good for his health. So a great decision by Yoel Romero. I mean, think about the UFC's 185 division. Blachowicz came from 185. Thiago Santos, 185. Anthony Smith, 185. These guys came from 185 anyways. It's happening. Whitaker got beat by Woodley at 170. He's lost fights at 170. He went to 185. Gastelum, 170, lost to Woodley. Went to 185, almost beat Adesanya. Look, I'm trailing off here. My point in bringing this up is that great pickup for Bellator with Yoel Romero. And I want to see the Rumble Johnson fight. That's crazy. The fight that I want to see more than anything ain't Vadim Nemkov versus A or B. It's Yoel versus Rumble. ATT versus the Black Zillions, even though they're debunked now. MMA hardcores know what those gyms are. Anyways, moving on. Jake Paul. And before I say anything, I'm going to put up right now what happened recently with Dylan Dennis. Roll the clip.
Hey, look, it's Conor McGregor's bitch right there. Pussy. Piece of shit. Pussy. Dip. Pussy. Fuck you,
The man is up to the most shenanigans. And really, Dylan Dennis is what, 2-0 in Bellator? Jake Paul's 2-0 in boxing? Make the fight. You know, Dylan Dennis is a disgusting jiu-jitsu practitioner, okay? He was Conor McGregor's jiu-jitsu coach. Now he's one of Conor McGregor's cronies, one of his buddies, one of his supporters who support Conor McGregor right or wrong, who, if you see Conor McGregor post, tweet, anything, you'll see his name underneath saying supporting words. That's what kind of level he's on. He's worse than Artem Lobov, but I'm not going to go there. Now, you got him showing up, Jake Paul being that guy, you know, calling him a bitch, a pussy, throwing water balloons at him. Dylan's running up like, and then at the end he chucks a little bit back at the, at it. Okay, if you're really, let me just say this. If that was Conor McGregor, who Jake showed up on throwing the water balloons, Conor McGregor is handling that completely different, okay? Conor McGregor ain't going to be running up to the truck bed or whatever the hell it was, ducking and dodging and trying to do Yoel Romero's, actually Paulo Costa's Yoel Romero impersonation. He ain't doing all that. No. Conor McGregor, after the first thing is thrown, he's going to be like, these are water balloons. These are water balloons. And that's going to register immediately. And then when he takes off toward the truck, he's not ducking and dodging Yoel Romero and trying to get through the water balloons. No, he's running through those bastards. And leapfrogging Khabib style up onto the truck bed, and there's going to be damage. Believe it happening. So, again, I know that Jake Paul is pandering for a Conor McGregor matchup, and he's doing the right things to get under McGregor's skin. I don't know how really close McGregor and Dennis are. They seem pretty close. At least Dennis seems pretty close to McGregor. Take that for what it's worth. But if you remember when Khabib, and I know that he already had a heat with Khabib, but when Khabib, met up with Artem Lobov in the hallway, and he gave him a slap to the back of the neck, that infuriated McGregor. McGregor and his cronies hopped on a jet, flew to America, and right here, they went crazy. You see him throwing through a dolly at the window of the bus? It was insanity. So, if Jake Paul's showing up chucking water balloons at Dylan Dennis, I've yet to see McGregor's reaction. I've seen Dennis's reaction. I'll put the tweet up. But I haven't seen McGregor's reaction, so I don't think... maybe McGregor's trying to be smarter about things now, which he should be. He's got a big fight coming up. This is a distraction. But, you know what I mean? We'll see what happens with that in the future. But, 2 points to Jake Paul on that one. 2 points. So, all right. So, Nate Diaz is taking exception to Jake Paul, calling him, everything but his name, saying this, saying that, telling Logan to get a handle on him. Oh, sorry about that. And that's a good fight too. Like I mentioned in one of my shows, like the Diaz brothers like trained boxing and with Andre Ward, undefeated world champion, retired. So make the boxing match. I don't think Dana would want to have that fight though. Not unless it was under the UFC banner. I don't think Dana wants to do business with the Paul brothers at all. Because he even said he's about ready to have Amanda Nunes knock him out. Don't believe me?
You're saying that you don't want me to fight Conor McGregor because he's one of the greatest fighters in the world, and I'm just like a YouTuber or whatever. But then, in a statement today, you say, oh, I'm thinking about just having Amanda Nunes knock him out.
Again, it seems like I'm talking about Jake Paul or Logan Paul on every damn show. These guys keep doing things. I'm going to talk about it, but I am going to move away from that now because I'm trying to put a button on this thing, close it up. All right. Anthony Joshua KOs Kubrat Pulev, late in, I think it was the 9th round, KO. All right. Anthony Joshua back in the KO column because, he just outboxed Ruiz in the rematch. He's back in the KO column, and I want to know if Tyson Fury is next. And if Tyson Fury is next, as I mentioned before, this could be detrimental to the heavyweight division of boxing. Because if Fury wins, he probably will never box again. Then you have all 4 of the major world titles in the heavyweight division in boxing vacant. So who do you put in there? Wilder and Joshua? Fury will sit back and be like, yes, I cleaned up very well this year. I think I'll have. Let me stop. All I'm saying is that if that's next, I'm definitely going to be on the edge of my seat. And I don't know who I pick in that one yet. I'll have to analyze that a little bit further. Out the gate, people want to say, Fury, okay? That's fine. But I'm not ready to write Anthony Joshua all the way off yet. All right? If we were talking about Deontay Wilder, then yeah, I'll probably be like, probably Wilder. Because I think Wilder would connect on Joshua, and I don't think Joshua has the chin to withstand and rise to his feet and keep his faculties about him enough to recover and, box his way through. But that's neither here nor there. Wilder doesn't even have a belt anymore. So if this is next, count on Tyson Fury retiring after, if he wins, you know what I mean? Count on him retiring. And if he loses, count on him retiring because, the man's undefeated. It'll be his first professional boxing loss. So, I don't know. Maybe he doesn't want to have somebody to say, oh, I retired Fury. So maybe he'll fight again after that, but I don't know. Probably not for long. But I'm just saying, all I know is that Fury, he doesn't box for the money. Gives his purses away to charity. Doesn't box for money. So what is he boxing for? He's boxing for history. He's already had all the belts that Anthony Joshua has when he knocked out, or he didn't knock him out. He defeated Klitschko. Okay? Then he got the belt that he didn't have when he defeated Wilder. So he's held all the major world titles. Now, if he could unify them all too, what left does he have to box for? He's not boxing for money. He's done. So don't count on him to box again if and when he defeats Anthony Joshua. Don't count on that. All right. Let's see here. All right. The UFC. I just wanted to bring them up because I had, and I'm almost done here. I had a comparison to make between the UFC and professional sports organizations like the National Football League and the National Basketball Association. All right. Now, the UFC has made cuts to their, roster, big name cuts, and there's more coming. They said they want to cut 60 more people. They've cut Anderson Silva. They've cut Yoel Romero. I've already spoken about these cuts. These guys, Anthony Johnson gone. These guys with tread still left on their tires, with name notoriety. See, the UFC used to be like, okay, we are going to promote our guys as the premier fighters in the world, and we're going to take a UFC-sized dump on anybody else. They used to talk crap about Strikeforce, when Strikeforce definitely had a better heavyweight division. Most of the names like Cormier, like Overeem, like Josh Barnett, the most of the heavyweight division came from Strikeforce. In the UFC now, you've got champions like Luke Rockhold, who came from Strikeforce. Nick Diaz was in Strikeforce. Robbie Lawler came back from Strikeforce and became UFC champion. You get the point? Like, I could definitely catalog the names. I'm not gonna do it. You get the point. Bellator, which was the next biggest MMA promotion, was ran by a guy named Bjorn Rebney. Bjorn Rebney. You know what Dana used to call him? Bjork. Just to crap on him. When he had a problem with a fighter, he'd tell him, go to Bellator. Okay? Now they're letting these big names go, guys that are ranked in the top 5 of the divisions, go to Bellator, and Bellator is scooping them up. Scooping them up. Is this because of COVID-19? Dana White's came out on several occasions saying that nobody that works for the UFC is going to lose their job. Nobody that works for the UFC. They like to say that these fighters are independent contractors, meaning they're fighting independently on their own. Like, as far as taxes go, as far as the government goes, they're independent contractors, meaning they're going to sign a contract over here, they can sign a contract over there, honor the contracts, what have you. But really, they are getting mandatory tests from USADA, okay, that they can show up at any point. They are exclusively signed to the UFC. They can't fight anywhere else when they're under contract with the UFC. Their likeness for life is signed away to UFC for video games and anything else like that. So if they go to Bellator, they can't be in a Bellator game. UFC has rights to their likeness. Okay? That's why Randy Couture never signed that. That's why you never see Couture in UFC games. That's why the UFC had a problem with John Fitch. Fort Wayne John Fitch. Shout out to you. Anyways, that's why they had a problem with him. He didn't want to sign that, but the guy kept winning fights. What can they do? Cut a guy that keeps winning fights? No. But they eventually cut him. Yeah, he lost to George St. Pierre. They still wanted to cut him, but he kept winning fights. And then as soon as he did lose a fight, they let him go. Not going to get into that. Anyways, the point that I'm trying to make here is you can see this as the UFC, and again, the UFC can let the fighters go whenever they want. So they have the power to release these guys whenever they want. So I'll let you guys decide. Is the UFC making these big name cuts to guys like Anderson Silva, Yoel Romero, letting Rumble Johnson go, letting guys that were world champions or world championship challengers go? Is this equivalent to an NFL franchise or an NBA franchise letting a big name go because they have a high price tag on them, but they still have game left? I think so. I think it is. But those guys are making way more money. So that's the unfortunate part of it. Alright. So I'm going to leave that at that. Last thing I want to say is, or I'm going to bring up before I close out here, Mark Hunt. Mark Hunt has a lawsuit that's going against the UFC. He's upset that he kept fighting fighters that tested positive for banned substances. And he's saying the UFC knew about it. You got Brock Lesnar. You got Alistair Overeem. Look, the guys tested positive after fighting him. All right, I'm not gonna put these guys on blast anymore. So he's making his professional boxing debut, and I was watching the weigh-ins, and definitely some fisticuffs. All right, so check that out. And until next time, I'll be coming back very soon. Because again, after tomorrow, I think I have like a few days off. So expect more content. But again, until next time, enjoy the fights, enjoy the sports. And I know I haven't been talking about a lot of NFL that's going on right now. I'm sorry. My Niners are 5-8. I know that it's not about me, but my Niners are 5-8. All I'm saying is look for the NFL coverage to pick up more. We're right around the corner from the playoffs. I'm definitely going to be 100% in on that. So look forward to that. But again, until next time. Until next time. And since he's so close, I'm going to bring him in here. Come here, buddy. Until next time. I almost called him his brother's name, Vitaly. Like he's trying to get out of here. Until next time, from Championship Rounds and Vladimir here, stay frosty.